The alien commander begged for help, but humanity answered alone. The battlefield's last breath, the morning sky burned orange over the ruins of Colony 7. Smoke twisted upward from countless fires that still smoldered across the wasteland. The battle between Earth's colonial defense force and the Krillani Empire had ended 12 hours ago, but death still lingered in the air like a promise unfulfilled. Private Marcus Chen moved through the debris field, his boots crunching on broken glass and twisted metal. His squad had been scattered during the last bombardment. Communications were down. The extraction point was 20 kilometers away through hostile territory. He was alone, wounded, and running low on supplies. He stopped to catch his breath behind what used to be a transport vehicle. His shoulder throbbed where shrapnel had torn through his armor. Blood had dried dark against the fabric underneath. He needed to keep moving, but exhaustion pulled at every muscle in his body. That's when he heard it. A sound so quiet he almost missed it beneath the wind. It was breathing, labored and wet. Someone was still alive out here. Marcus gripped his rifle tighter and moved toward the sound. Training told him to be careful. It could be a trap. The Krillani were known for their cunning. But something in that breathing sounded desperate, broken. He rounded a collapsed wall and froze. There, half buried under rubble, lay a Krillani warrior. The alien's distinctive blue-scaled skin was torn and bleeding purple blood into the dirt. One of her 4 arms was bent at an impossible angle. Her breathing came in short gasps. The Krillani's eyes opened when his shadow fell across her. They were gold, like molten metal, and filled with a pain that transcended species. She tried to move, to reach for a weapon that wasn't there, but her body wouldn't respond. Marcus kept his rifle pointed at her. This was the enemy. The Krillani had destroyed 3 human colonies. They showed no mercy in battle. Their warriors were bred for combat from birth. Every instinct told him to walk away or finish what the battle had started. But she spoke. Her voice was barely a whisper, and the translator in his helmet took a moment to process the alien language. "Please," she said. Just that one word. Marcus had heard Krillani speak before, usually battle cries or demands for surrender. He'd never heard one beg. He looked around. The battlefield was empty. No one would know what choice he made here. He could leave her. It would be the smart thing to do. The safe thing. She would die within hours from her injuries. "Please," she said again, and this time her voice cracked. "I do not wish to die alone." Something in Marcus broke at those words. He lowered his rifle and knelt beside her. Up close, he could see the full extent of her injuries. Her lower body was crushed. Beneath a steel beam, purple blood pooled around her. She was dying, and they both knew it. "Why should I help you?" he asked, though he was already pulling out his medical kit. "Your people killed my friends," she blinked slowly. "And your people killed mine. Does that mean we must continue the cycle?" Marcus didn't answer. He injected her with a painkiller designed for humans, hoping it would work on her physiology. She gasped, then her breathing eased slightly. He began cleaning the wounds he could reach, working around the beam that pinned her. "What is your name?" she asked. "Marcus. Private Marcus Chen." "I am Silara, 3rd Blade of the Eastern Fleet." She paused, then added with bitter humor, "Former 3rd Blade. The Krillani do not retrieve wounded warriors who cannot walk themselves from battle." Marcus had heard rumors about that. The Krillani culture valued strength above all else. Weakness was not tolerated. The wounded were abandoned. It seemed cruel even by war's standards. "That's harsh," he said, wrapping bandages around a deep gash on her visible arm. "It is our way. The strong survive. The weak fade. I accepted this when I took my oath." Her golden eyes found his. "Yet you stay." "Why?" Marcus considered the question. He didn't have a good answer. "Because someone should," he finally said. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Silara asked, "Do you have water?" Marcus gave her his canteen. She drank carefully, her movements deliberate despite the pain. When she handed it back, their fingers briefly touched. Her skin was cooler than he expected, smooth despite the scales. A distant explosion made them both tense. The war was moving away, but danger remained. Scavengers would come soon, both human and Krillani, looking for salvage and survivors. "You should go," Silara said. "Your people will look for you." "What about you?" She attempted what might have been a smile. "I told you. We do not retrieve the wounded." Marcus looked at the beam pinning her. It was too heavy for one person to move. But maybe with leverage, he found a metal rod nearby and began working it under the beam. "What are you doing?" Silara asked. "Getting you out. That is foolish. I cannot walk. My injuries. Then I'll carry you." She stared at him. In Krillani culture, such an offer was incomprehensible. Warriors stood on their own strength or not at all. "You would carry an enemy? Right now you're not an enemy. You're someone who needs help." It took Marcus 30 minutes to free her. Every movement caused her pain, though. She tried not to show it. When the beam finally shifted enough, he pulled her clear. Her legs were badly damaged, bones broken in multiple places. She wouldn't be walking anywhere. Marcus fashioned a makeshift stretcher from debris and carefully moved her onto it. She was heavier than she looked, her alien physiology denser than human. But he managed to create a harness that allowed him to drag the stretcher behind him. "This is madness," Silara said as they began moving. "Your own people will execute you." "For helping me." "Maybe," Marcus admitted. "But I've seen enough death today." They moved slowly through the ruins. Marcus had to stop frequently to rest and check their surroundings. Silara remained conscious, her golden eyes scanning for danger. Despite everything, she was still a warrior. As the sun began to set, painting the destroyed landscape in reds and purples, they found shelter in a partially collapsed building. Marcus set up a defensive position and gave Silara more painkillers. She was growing weaker, her breathing more labored. "Why do your people fight us?" she asked suddenly. Marcus was surprised by the question. "You attacked our colonies, killed civilians. We were expanding our territory, as all empires do. Your people were in the way. That doesn't make it right." "No," she agreed. "But it is what we were taught. What I believed until—" She trailed off. "Until what?" "Until a human showed me mercy when my own people would not." They sat in the gathering darkness, two soldiers from different worlds bound together by an act of compassion that defied the logic of war. Outside, the battlefield grew quiet. But Marcus knew the real challenge was just beginning. He had saved her life, but now they had to survive together in a world that wanted them both dead. As Silara's eyes began to close, fighting exhaustion and pain, she whispered something in her own language. The translator caught it. "Thank you." Marcus checked his rifle and settled in for a long night. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going to let her die. Not after coming this far. The war had taken enough from both of them. Maybe it was time to take something back. Shadows and shelter. The abandoned communication relay station stood like a metal skeleton against the dawn sky. Marcus had spotted it during the night through his scope, a structure that might offer better shelter and possibly supplies. Getting there with Silara had taken 3 hours of careful movement through the debris field. She had barely spoken during the journey, conserving her strength. The painkillers were running low, and Marcus could see her fighting to stay conscious. Her purple blood had soaked through the bandages again. Without proper medical treatment soon, she wouldn't survive another day. Marcus cleared the station room by room, rifle ready. It had been picked over by scavengers, but the medical bay still had some supplies. He found alien medical gel that might work on Krillani physiology, and some water purification tablets. Not much, but better than nothing. He brought Silara inside, and laid her on what had been an examination table. In the better light, he could see her injuries more clearly. The scales around her wounds had turned a sickly gray color. Infection was setting in. "This is going to hurt," he warned, preparing to clean her wounds properly. Pain is nothing, she said, but her voice was weak. In the training towers of Krella Prime, we learned to embrace it. That's stupid, Marcus said bluntly, carefully removing the old bandages. Pain is your body telling you something's wrong. She made a sound that might have been a laugh. You humans are soft. We're practical. We use pain as information, not a test of character. As he worked, Silara watched him with those golden eyes. You have medical training? Basic field medicine. Every soldier learns it. He applied the alien gel, hoping he was using it correctly. Though I've never treated a Krellani before, few humans have and lived to speak of it. Marcus paused. Have you killed humans before? Yes, many. There was no emotion in her voice, just fact. It was my purpose. I was bred for war, trained from childhood. I knew nothing else. And now, she was quiet for a long moment. Now I lie here, dependent on one of those humans for my life. The universe has a cruel sense of humor. Marcus finished with the bandages and gave her water. She drank slowly, her strength fading. He knew they needed to talk about what came next, but first he had questions. Tell me about this abandonment thing. Your people really just leave wounded warriors behind? Silara's expression darkened. The Krellani believe in evolution through conflict. The weak die so the strong may thrive. It has made us powerful. It's made you heartless. Perhaps. But heartless warriors conquered 30 systems before encountering humanity. How's that working out for you now? She actually smiled at that, a strange expression on her alien features. Not as well as expected. You humans fight differently. You rescue your wounded, protect your weak. We thought it would make you easy to defeat. But it didn't. No, it made you unpredictable. A Krellani warrior would never risk themselves for a fallen comrade. But humans do it constantly. You treat it as noble rather than foolish. Marcus checked the door again, paranoid about being discovered. Different species, different values. More than that, Silara said. I have been thinking, lying here. My entire life was built on one truth. Strength is everything. But if that is true, why did you, the enemy, save me while my own people left me to die? Maybe strength isn't just about physical power. She considered this. On Krella Prime, such thinking would be heresy. Good thing we're not on Krella Prime. A sound outside made them both freeze. Footsteps, multiple sets, moving carefully through the debris. Marcus grabbed his rifle and moved to the window. Through the dirty glass he saw them. A Krellani patrol, 5 warriors in full combat armor, moving through the ruins with practiced precision. Death Squad, Silara whispered. They sweep battlefields for survivors. Looking for wounded to help? Looking for wounded to eliminate. The weak must not be allowed to burden the strong. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. They'd kill their own people? It is considered a mercy. A warrior's death rather than the shame of survival through weakness. The patrol was getting closer. Marcus counted his ammunition. 2 clips left. Not enough for a firefight against 5 Krellani warriors. They needed to hide. He found a maintenance shaft in the back of the medical bay. It was small, meant for humans, but it might work. He helped Silara inside, her face contorting in pain as her broken body was forced into the tight space. Marcus squeezed in after her, pulling a metal panel over the entrance. They were pressed close together in the darkness. Marcus could feel Silara's rapid breathing, could smell the alien scent of her fear mixed with the copper tang of blood. Her hand found his in the darkness and gripped it tight. The door to the medical bay opened. Heavy footsteps entered. Marcus heard them speaking in Krellani. His translator picked up fragments. Blood trail, recently used, survivor. One of them was right outside the maintenance shaft. Marcus held his breath, his finger on the trigger of his rifle. Beside him, Silara was completely still. Then, another voice commanding, "Waste no more time, the human forces are regrouping to the west, we move." The footsteps retreated. The door closed. They waited another 10 minutes before Marcus carefully pushed open the panel. The room was empty, but the patrol had left something behind, a Krillani combat beacon blinking red on the floor. They marked this location, Silara said. They'll return with a full unit. Then we need to move. I cannot. You know this. Leave. Me. Marcus was already packing what supplies he could carry. We've been over this. I don't leave people behind. I am not your people. Right now, you're the only people I've got. He rigged up the stretcher again, but Silara grabbed his arm. Wait, there's something you should know. The beacon isn't just for my people. Both sides monitor enemy frequencies. Your forces will detect it too. So everyone will be coming here. Yes. And when they find us together, Marcus understood. Humans would see him as a traitor. Krillani would see her as weak and corrupted. Neither side would show mercy. Then we'd better not be here when they arrive. They left the station as the sun reached its peak. Marcus dragged Silara through narrow passages between collapsed buildings, avoiding open ground. Every movement was agony for her, but she stayed, silent warrior's pride keeping her from crying out. They made it 2 kilometers before Marcus's communicator crackled to life. It had been dead since the battle, but suddenly a voice came through. Any ECDF personnel, this is Rescue 7. We're conducting sweep and recovery. Respond with position and status. Marcus stopped. Rescue was here. He could call them, get medical, help, get home. All he had to do was leave Silara behind. They'd never know. He looked back at her. She was watching him, those golden eyes understanding. Call them, she said. You've done more than enough. Marcus held the communicator. One button and this would be over. He'd be safe, she'd be dead, and the war would continue as it always had. He turned off the communicator. You're an idiot, Silara said, but there was something like warmth in her voice. Yeah, well, you're stuck with this idiot now. They kept moving, 2 enemies becoming something else, something neither their species had a word for yet. Behind them, the beacon continued blinking, calling death from both sides. Ahead lay uncertainty, probably doom, but possibly something more. As the day wore on and Marcus's strength began to fail, Silara spoke again. When I was young, before the training towers, my mother told me a story. She said that before the Empire, before the conquest, Krillani believed in something called Kreltara. It means strength through unity. We lost that when we chose expansion over connection. Maybe it's not lost, Marcus said, stopping to rest. Maybe it just needs to be remembered. She looked at him, this strange human who defied everything she'd been taught. Perhaps some things are worth remembering. The price of mercy. The human rescue transport descended through the smoke with its lights cutting through the haze. Marcus stood in the clearing, Silara hidden behind rocks 20 meters away. He'd made his choice, signal for rescue, get them to treat her. Whatever happened after, he'd face it. The transport touched down and its ramp lowered. A medical team rushed out, followed by armed soldiers. Marcus recognized Sergeant Kim from his unit, her face shifting from relief to confusion when she saw him alone. Chen, thank God. We thought we'd lost you. She looked around. Where's the rest of your squad? Dead, Marcus said simply. But I need your help. There's someone. Save it for debrief. Let's get you. No. Marcus stepped back. I have a wounded Krillani warrior. She needs immediate medical attention. The soldiers raised their weapons instantly. Kim's expression went cold. You're harboring an enemy combatant? I'm saving a life. Stand aside, Private. We'll handle this. Marcus moved between them and where Silara was hidden. She's not a threat. She's dying. Good. One less. She's surrendered, Marcus shouted. Under the Geneva Conventions, we're obligated to provide medical treatment to enemy wounded. Kim laughed bitterly. The Krillani don't follow the conventions, they execute our prisoners. That makes us better than them, doesn't it? A tense moment passed. Then a voice from behind the soldiers. What's the situation, Sergeant? Lieutenant. Commander Sarah Webb stepped forward, her medical insignia visible on her collar. Marcus had heard of her, a doctor who'd volunteered for frontline duty. Kim explained quickly. Webb listened, then looked at Marcus. Show me. Marcus led them to Silara. She was unconscious now, her breathing shallow. Webb immediately began scanning her with medical equipment, her face professionally neutral. 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding, severe infection, fractured pelvis. Webb rattled off. She needs surgery immediately. Commander, you can't be serious, Kim protested. I'm a doctor, Sergeant. I took an oath. Webb signaled the medical team. Get her on the transport. As they loaded Silara onto a stretcher, she opened her eyes briefly. They found Marcus. Thank you, she whispered in English, the first human words he'd heard her speak. The transport ride was tense. Kim and the other soldiers kept weapons trained on Silara, while Webb and her team worked to stabilize her. Marcus sat between them, unwilling to move. You know there'll be a court-martial, Kim said to him quietly. I know. Was it worth it? Marcus watched Webb working to save Silara's life. Ask me if she survives. They reached Forward Operating Base Delta as the sun set. Word had already spread. A human soldier had brought in a Kralani warrior. Some looked at Marcus with disgust, others with curiosity. He was placed under guard while Silara was taken to surgery. Hours passed. Marcus was questioned by intelligence officers, military police, and a JAG lawyer. He told them everything. Finding Silara, the choice to save her, their conversations. Some seemed sympathetic, others hostile. Finally, Webb emerged from surgery. She'll live, she told Marcus, but she'll never walk again without assistance. Her spinal damage is too severe. Can I see her? Webb glanced at the guards. 5 minutes. Silara was awake, connected to various machines. She looked smaller somehow, vulnerable in a way that had nothing to do with her injuries. You saved me, she said. Doctors saved you. You brought me to them despite the cost to yourself. Marcus sat beside her bed. You'd have done the same. No, she said honestly. A week ago, I would have killed you without thought. That was who I was. And now I don't know who I am. The door burst open. Alarms began blaring throughout the base. Kim appeared, all business. Kralani attack incoming, full assault force. Marcus jumped up. How many? 50 warriors, maybe more. And Chen? Kim hesitated. Intelligence says they're here for her. A death squad. They're broadcasting demands that we turn over the corrupted warrior. Silara's face went pale. They'll destroy your base to get to me. We should defend ourselves. Webb interrupted, entering the room. Which includes defending you. Why? Silara asked, genuinely confused. Because that's what humans do, Webb said simply. The attack came at midnight. Kralani warriors, bred for combat, armed with energy weapons that cut through steel like paper. The base's defenses held initially, but they were outnumbered. Marcus had been released from custody and rearmed. Every soldier was needed. He fought, from the medical wing, determined to protect Silara. She watched from her bed, frustrated by her inability to help. Then the wall exploded. 3 Kralani warriors entered, their leader bearing the marks of a death squad captain. He spoke in Kralani. Silara of the Eastern Fleet, you have brought shame upon our people. I survived, she replied in their language. Since when is that shameful? You accepted help from the enemy. You are corrupted. The captain raised his weapon toward her. Marcus moved to fire, but he was too far away. Then Silara did something unexpected. She spoke in English, loud and clear. I stand with the humans. The captain hesitated, shocked by her use of the enemy's language. That second was enough. Marcus's shot took him in the chest. The other 2 warriors turned on Marcus, but now Silara had grabbed a weapon from the fallen captain with her good arm. Despite her injuries, despite the pain, she fired. The 2 warriors fell. Silara collapsed back, the weapon falling from her trembling hand. You shot your own people, Marcus said. They stopped being my people when they decided I was better off. Dead, she replied. The battle turned when human reinforcements arrived. The Kralani, expecting an easy victory against a forward base, found themselves outnumbered and outgunned. They retreated, leaving their dead behind. In the aftermath, as medics treated the wounded and engineers repaired the damage, something had changed. The soldiers who had looked at Marcus with suspicion now nodded with respect. Silara had fought. For them, had chosen them over her own kind. Commander Webb approached Marcus and Silara. High Command wants to speak with both of you. This incident has reached the highest levels. There's talk of using this for propaganda or... She paused. Something else. What else? Marcus asked. Peace talks. The first real attempt. And they want you both there. Silara looked at Marcus. Your people would trust me to speak for peace. After tonight? Yes. She was quiet for a moment, then said, Among my people there is a saying. The strongest warrior is the one who chooses not to fight. I thought your people believed in conquest. They do. But perhaps it's time to remember what we believed before that. Marcus took her hand, a gesture that would have meant death a week ago. Now it meant possibility. This won't be easy, he said. Both sides have lost too much. The hate runs deep. Then we show them something stronger than hate, Silara replied. Which is, she squeezed his hand. Whatever this is, whatever made you stop for me, whatever made me choose you over them. Outside, dawn was breaking over the base. The war wasn't over, might not be over for years. But in that medical room, two former enemies had become something new. They'd become proof that another way was possible. Beyond the war, the Peace Summit was held on Neutral Station 7, a massive space platform that orbited in the dead zone between human and Krillani space. Marcus stood in dress uniform beside Silara, who floated in a specially designed mobility chair that accommodated her injuries. 6 months had passed since the night she chose humanity over her own people. The conference room was divided, humans on one side, Krillani on the other. The tension was thick enough to cut. These were species that had been trying to exterminate each other for 3 years. Now they sat across a table, attempting words instead of weapons. Admiral Chen, no relation to Marcus, despite the shared surname, led the human delegation. Across from him sat War Master Krelton, his forearms folded, his scaled face unreadable. The Krillani delegation kept shooting looks of disgust at Silara. Before we begin, Admiral Chen said, I'd like Private Chen and former Third Blade Silara to speak. Their story has become known to both our peoples. War Master Krelton's voice was cold. The corrupted one has no right to speak for Krillani. Then, I speak for myself, Silara said, her voice strong despite everything. I was loyal to the Empire. I killed for it, bled for it, would have died for it, and when I lay broken on that battlefield, the Empire left me to rot. It was a human who showed me mercy. Mercy is weakness, Krelton spat. Is it? Silara challenged. This human carried me through hostile territory, risked court-martial, fought his own kind's prejudice to save me. That takes a strength I never saw in all my years of Krillani service. Marcus stepped forward. Sir, if I may. 3 years ago, if someone told me I'd be standing here defending a Krillani warrior, I'd have called them insane. But war has a way of teaching us things we never wanted to learn. I learned that our enemies love their families like we do. They fear death like we do. They can choose compassion, even when everything tells them not to. Pretty words, Krelton said, but they don't erase the dead. No, Admiral Chen agreed. Nothing can. But we can prevent more dead. This war has cost both sides dearly. Humanity has lost 12 colonies. The Krillani have lost 8 fleet groups. We're destroying each other for what? Territory? Resources? Pride? The negotiations went on for hours. Marcus and Silara were dismissed but remained on the station. They found themselves in an observation lounge, looking out at the stars that both their species had bled for. Do you think it will work? Silara asked. I don't know, the hate runs deep. She moved her chair closer to him. Over the months, they'd grown comfortable with each other's presence. More than comfortable if Marcus was honest with himself. I've been thinking, she said, about what comes after. After. If peace happens. Where do I go? I can't return to Krelani space. I'm marked as a traitor. But I'm not human either. Marcus had been thinking about that too. Earth has offered you asylum. You could stay with us? Us? He met her golden eyes. Me. You could stay with me. She was quiet for a moment. Your people would accept that? A human and a Krelani? Some wouldn't. But things are changing. We're changing them. Before she could respond, alarms began blaring. The station shook violently. They rushed back to the conference room to find chaos. On the main screen, a massive ship had appeared, neither human nor Krelani in design. The Void Hunters, someone whispered. Marcus had heard rumors of them, a nomadic species that fed on the remnants of war, descending on weakened civilizations like vultures. And both humans and Krelani had weakened each other perfectly. The Void. Hunter ship fired. The station's shields held barely. In the conference room, longtime enemies looked at each other with a new understanding. They'd been so focused on their war they'd made themselves vulnerable to something worse. War Master Kreltan stood. My fleet is 20 minutes away. Admiral Chen nodded. Ours is 15, but separately. We'll be destroyed, Kreltan finished. He looked at Silura, then at Marcus. You fought together, human and Krelani. Can it be done on a larger scale? Silura moved forward. Give me a communication channel to your fleet. Kreltan hesitated, then nodded. Silura spoke in rapid Krelani, explaining the situation, calling on old codes and honor. Some responded with anger, but others listened. She spoke of the night she fought beside humans, of strength through unity, of the old ways before the Empire's isolation. Marcus did the same with the human fleet, his voice carrying the weight of someone who'd lived the possibility of cooperation. The Void Hunters attacked again. This time, the station's shields flickered. They had minutes, maybe less. Then something unprecedented happened. The human and Krelani fleets arrived at the same time. For a moment, old hostilities threatened to override new necessity. Ships targeted each other automatically. Stand down, Admiral Chen commanded. Hold fire, Kreltan ordered. The two fleets turned as one toward the Void Hunter ship. Human plasma cannons fired alongside Krelani pulse weapons. Fighter craft from both species wove between each other, covering weaknesses, enhancing strengths. The Void Hunters, expecting easy prey, found themselves facing something they'd never encountered: united resistance from former enemies. The battle was brief, but decisive. The Void Hunter ship, damaged and outnumbered, fled into hyperspace. The immediate threat was over, but something more important had happened. Humans and Krelani had fought side by side. In the conference room, Admiral Chen extended his hand to War Master Kreltan. After a long moment, the Krelani took it with one of his 4 hands. Perhaps, Kreltan said slowly, there is strength in your mercy after all. The peace treaty was signed 3 days later. It wasn't perfect. There were reparations to negotiate, prisoners to exchange, colonies to rebuild. But it was a beginning. Marcus and Silura watched the ceremony from the observation deck. Her hand found his, her cool, scaled fingers interlacing with his warm ones. What now? She asked. Now we build something new. Together. She smiled, an expression that had become natural to her face. Together. A year later, Marcus stood in the first joint human Krelani colony. Buildings that combined both architectural styles rose against an alien sky. Children of both species played together in the streets, their parents watching with cautious hope. Silura worked as a cultural liaison, teaching humans about Krelani society while learning human customs herself. Her mobility chair had been upgraded with human and Krelani technology, giving her more independence than she'd thought possible. They lived together now, in a house that was neither fully human nor Krelani, but something uniquely theirs. It hadn't been easy. There were stares, comments, sometimes worse. But there were also others like them, humans and Krelani, who saw possibility where others saw only difference. One evening, as they watched the sunset from their porch, Silara said, "I never thanked you properly." "For what?" "For stopping that day. For seeing me as more than an enemy." Marcus squeezed her hand. "You changed my life too. You showed me that strength isn't about standing alone." The old Krelani way spoke of Kreltara, strength through unity. I thought it was lost. But maybe it was just waiting. Waiting for what? For someone brave enough to carry another through the fire. For someone strong enough to accept that help. For enemies to become something more. In the distance, a ship launched carrying the first mixed crew of humans and Krelani, heading out to explore new worlds together. The war was over, but the real journey had just begun. Marcus and Silara sat together, two souls from different worlds who had found each other in the aftermath of destruction and chosen to build something from the ashes. They were proof that even in the darkest moments when hatred seems absolute, compassion can still find a way. The stars above them shone with infinite possibility, and for the first time since the war began, both species looked up at them with hope instead of fear. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and wonders yet to be discovered. But now, humanity and the Krelani would face them together, united by the simple truth that two soldiers had discovered on a battlefield. Sometimes, the greatest strength is in choosing not to stand alone.